Hello, everyone, and welcome to an extra special interview for the Campus Buzz on 89.5 FM, WSOU. My name is Ryan, and today I am joined by a fantastic artist and bassist who plays in not only one, but two great bands. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Martin. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me, talking with me alongside the Campus Buzz. We are celebrating Pride Month here, highlighting artists in the LGBTQ IAP plus. So I remember when I stumbled across, you and your bands and stuff. I knew I had to get you for an interview. It is Pride Month, but
Yeah.
trust me, your music is. I could interview any month, and it would still fit. Your music is fantastic. So
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
All right, so we'll get started with the questions.
Sure.
So I hear a lot of different influences in your music. What were some of your influences when you were starting out musically? Who kind of inspired you or wanted you to make music and play music?
Yeah. As for why Lions, a lot of us have like many different influences. I feel like we all come from like different backgrounds. For myself, I definitely come from a more metalhead background for sure. A lot of like I like the jazzy stuff, sort of prog stuff. Like I love Death. I love Beyond Creation. Like their bassist is like incredible. And then jazzy stuff like I don't know, Snarky Puppy. I don't know. I like the bassists that can kind of like move around a lot, but know how to like stay in their like grounded lane.
Right.
Um,
hmm
yeah,
So you've already kind of talked about some bass players, but that was kind of my next question. Being a bass
yeah.
player yourself, is who are really the bass players who like you look up to and inspired by?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, Dominic Lapointe from Beyond Creation,
Mhm.
he is just out of this world. I feel like he's like a lead bassist, like he just does whatever he can and he like stands out from the guitars and from the other instruments, but he still really like holds it down, like grounds everything. And I feel like that kind of stuff is inspiring. And other people like, I don't know, like the basic favorites, like Paul McCartney, Flea,
Yep.
all those people that just like ride the line of harmonic and melodic and rhythmic and that kind of stuff.
Right. So I'm curious actually too, we're talking about bass and stuff, but instrumentally, did you start with anything else? Was it like in school, like did you pick up like a clarinet or something or whatever? So
Yeah, I actually, before I was in Y Lions, I was actually a drummer.
oh,
I was in a band called Small Victories. Shout to them if they're listening. But yeah, it was sort of like a alt rock, sort of pop punk kind of band. We had like a few singles on like SoundCloud or something. It was fun stuff. I liked it a lot. But yeah, it pretty much I transitioned from drums to bass when the singer of Y Lions, who was also my sibling's boyfriend, um, needed a bassist for the band essentially, and they recently had gotten a bass, and he just sort of like handed it to me and was like, "Hey, if you can, go for it."
Okay, I get that. We've talked about Pride Month and stuff, but was there
Mhm.
any not even bass players, but musicians and stuff, with that within the LGBTQ IAP plus, like any musicians there that you've really looked up to?
Yeah. Left at London. That's her stage name. Nat Puff, I think is her name.
Oh,
She's an incredible artist. She recently just put out like her first album. She's been putting out like mixtapes and EPs for a while, but she just put out her first album and it is phenomenal. So all of her work is super inspiring to me, just like as another queer person in this world.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, she's a queen.
I guess I should ask this one first, but I jumped ahead. When starting out with like instrumentation and stuff, what was kind of like, who really got you involved? Was there a family member, a friend, or anything? Is there any good
Mm,
stories with that?
like how I started playing music and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I mean, this is like sort of a stretch, but I feel like back, it was like 10 years ago, some Christmas, my parents got me Beatles Rock Band. And I started
Okay.
playing the drums on that. And weirdly enough, it's a good enough platform to actually learn rhythm. So from there, I moved to like an actual like drum pad, like an electronic kit. And then I just kept going from there.
Hey, please, that's not a weird story at all. That's how I got involved with guitar. Guitar Hero 3, man, I was like hooked on that. And my parents were like, well, why don't you try real guitar? And the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people that have started like that, I'm sure, is plentiful.
So yeah, so as I mentioned, you're involved with currently two bands.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with kind of both of them? How did you find out, or like how were they formed? At least from like your perspective.
Yeah. Like before, I said that Y Lion sort of formed. The drummer and the singer, John and Zach, they were already together, and they sort of had like a little thing going. And then I joined when they needed a bassist. I was already a drummer by then, so they didn't need another one of those. Um, but yeah, I got involved playing bass with them, and it was kind of fun. But then a friend of John's, who is his like high school band's guitarist, essentially joined us, and then it all kind of came together there. And I mean, we've been together for about 5 years now, which is
Oh
kind of
wow.
crazy to think about. Yeah. As for Souls Are Hidden, Jordan, who is the lead man of Souls Are Hidden, sort of the metal project. We were friends in high school. We were in a lot of classes together. Like me, Jordan, and Callie all sort of knew each other, which was kind of crazy. I'm here now.
Shout out to DJ Calzone.
Yeah. But yeah, he was one of my friends, and I sort of had my own little metal side projects that he would help me out with, and then I would sort of help him out with Souls Are Hidden. And then I finally, when he first asked me to join, I was nowhere near, I would say I wasn't anywhere near as good enough. But like with some of those like cover songs that we learned and that kind of stuff, I sort of was like, okay, like, yeah, like hardcore and metal bass is really something that I can do, like without a pick or like just the figures. Like I can believe in myself when I play that kind of music.
Well, there you go. That's the key. So jumping into kind of the specifics of the band, I have to know for the logo of Y Lions, that's a really like clean and nice logo.
Oh yeah, thank you.
What's kind of the story behind that? That's a really cool logo.
Yeah, I mean, I did like the first kind of like mock-up of it, I want to say, like just like a couple like sketches and that kind of stuff.
Oh, so you were the one to design it?
Um, Vaguely, yeah. I did like the first
Okay,
beginning
okay.
sketches of like, okay, I want it to like face that direction. I want it to like say Y Lions in the main and that kind of stuff. And then Zach's partner, Sam, our drummer, his partner is actually a graphic designer. Um, so she sort of took that design to the very next level and gave it all the crisp edges and everything, and like a lot of much more polished design. Because like my original one is definitely a lot more DIY for
Right,
sure.
right.
But yeah, she took it to the next level, and I was like, yeah, that's perfect. It's so polished and nice.
So specifically with the music of Y Lions, I mean, like one of the things that really impressed me was like how many different sounds there are, with the band and stuff. So I know it can be kind of a tricky question and like, labels and stuff, but like, what would you generally describe the genre of Y Lions, if there is one?
Oh man. I mean, I feel like the most general thing that you could say to pitch it to someone is like alt rock or something. But I've heard us described as Weezer but more fun. Like Weezer but you can
Okay.
dance. And I remember there was this one bill that we had in this one very short-lived venue called Enter.
Okay.
It was right across the street from like another music venue, Boon Tunes, and it wasn't there for very long, but we played a show there, and one of the bookers called us lump rock, and I feel like we just sort of stuck with that for a while.
Hey, lump rock, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so with Why Lions, I have to ask about the album club covers, the pupper.
Oh
So
yeah.
first off, that's such a funny parallel. This small dog and I have a smaller dog as well, and
Yeah.
I definitely feel like that's what he thinks of himself as, is like this fierce thing and stuff. So I love that parallel, but yeah, what's kind of the why was that dog chosen and stuff? And you've continued with it, so do you
We
want to talk about that a little bit?
have. Yeah, I mean, because when we actually had a good repertoire of music, like we had like 9 or 10 songs, we were like, okay, like this can actually be an album, like this is a good collection of songs. So we started thinking of album names, and we went through like all the cool edgy names and that kind of stuff. But we were like, that doesn't like feel like us. And that dog is actually Zach's dog, our
Oh, okay.
drummer's, Josie.
Uh-huh.
Um, a very sweet little pupper. But she, yeah, she would just hop into the rehearsal room sometimes because
Oh, wow.
we would practice in Zach's basement. And sometimes Josie would just appear there and we were like, oh, and we would take a few photos of her just because
Yeah.
silly fluffy dog in a rehearsal space. And I think Zach at some point sent into the group chat like a really weirdly like picturesque photo. So we were like, okay, like that would be really funny as an album cover and that would feel very much like us because it's like kind of silly. And we were thinking of like, oh, like what would be some kind of cool name having to do with like, this dog that we would put on the cover. And I was like, what if we just named it, I don't know, what's it? I don't know, the one with the dog on the cover. And at first we were like, no, that's stupid. But as we kept looking at the list of names, we were like, that's probably going to be it.
So I guess kind of like a quick side one, do you personally
Yeah.
have a favorite like album cover and stuff? For me, it's "Don't Talk to Me." I love the little phone you got with
Oh, the
Josie
the
going and
phone.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely the favorite one.
All right, great. So moving on to your next band, are hidden. Do you ever call
Yeah.
it? I was curious about this. Do you ever call it just like SAW, SAH, or is it Souls Are
Yeah.
Hidden? Okay.
Yeah, when we talk to our bandmates, like whenever we're in a chat, like discussing our songs and what to do with them, we regularly just say "sa," or like whenever we're typing it in the group chat, it's just "sa,"
Yeah.
SAH. Yeah,
No, I get that. So it honestly must be nice, having two different bands with two very different styles. I mean, I can very much relate to that, working an indie show on a heavy metal station and stuff, it must be kind of like nice having, almost like a balance to them and stuff. So what do you think of, if you think about it, like that kind of balance of going from like one genre to a very different genre?
it's very useful to me for like just like artistic outlets. Just because it's like listening to a lot of different music is like great, and I feel like it's great for creative stimulation. But being able to write in different kinds of music, I feel like is just like if one thing isn't working for you a certain day, you can hop to the other one, like if painting isn't working for you, you could write a poem today. Like it's like I can hop between these two different things and it really like it just works for me. Because if one thing isn't particularly flowing from me, then I could just practice something else and it's just as fulfilling and it's working towards a great goal as well.
I like how you said that. Very fulfilling. Yeah. So moving on, I do want to come out and talk about you are a trans artist.
Yes.
So I do want to ask, like, with the transition and stuff, if you're comfortable with it, like, how
Mhm.
did you kind of know, and what was the process of that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was just a culmination of different things in my entire life. Obviously with like the society that we sort of live in, a lot of it is like repressed and pushed down, especially
Mhm.
myself coming from like a household.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I mean, not every household is like that, but oftentimes it can feel a little more pushed down.
Yeah.
But I it was just a lot of things, especially over quarantine, when I spent a lot of time with myself and with my partner, that I sort of like had enough time to reflect. Like I mean, I'm very privileged that I was able to sustain myself through that time. Like living with my parents and then eventually moving out now. Um, but like I feel like having enough time to reflect and be like, okay, like how am I feeling when I look in the mirror? Like what is precisely the thing? Like now that I had the time to think about it, it was like, what is precisely the thing that is bothering me if I look in the mirror, if I look at old photos of myself? Um, and then it was like it was a gradual thing up to this point, but then at some point I was just lying in bed and I was like, oh my God, like of course. And like suddenly everything clicks and you're like, oh, it was like, oh, that's the last puzzle piece to like figure myself out. And you're like, oh, that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's so many good points in there and stuff too. I mean, I didn't make quite the transition and stuff, but something interesting about quarantine that I heard from a friend of mine who is bi, and she's been bi for a while and stuff, but she talked
Mhm.
about how so many different people are coming out during quarantine and stuff just because like they're almost stuck with themselves and stuff and they're able to find their true
Yeah.
selves. So like I totally relate to, I came out as bi during quarantine and stuff. So I totally get that kind of
Yeah.
like deep down stuff because like, I had been having those thoughts since like high school. But the thing is like, and I don't give crap to any of like my friends back then and stuff. They're not listening to this, but they were very not supportive. They're like, you might be what? But like,
Right.
being in college and stuff and being around a lot more gay people and stuff and
Yeah.
trans people and stuff, it just felt so much easier. And you hit the nail on the head with like you're sitting in bed one day because that's what happened with me, where like it was just one day where I was like, you know what, I am.
Yeah.
So I totally
That
get that.
totally is it.
Yeah, that's totally great stuff. So we are going to have to wrap things up. This has been fantastic, but
Mhm.
I do want to ask, a trans musician and stuff, like how has your experience been? Is there any things you had to deal with, good, bad, interesting? What kind of has been
Yeah.
that experience been like?
Yeah, I mean, when we were performing, like just as Wild Lions and Souls Are Hidden, at that time, I feel like I didn't like fully come into myself.
Hmm,
I think I'd known at the time that I was bisexual pretty much the entire time, but um, it's like I mean, like sexuality and gender are like entirely different things, you know? So it's
yeah.
like discovering one doesn't mean you're going to discover the other.
Hmm,
But even at that time, like I, s- I found refuge in performing because I feel like that was the one time where I was like, oh, I can dress weird. You know,
yeah.
because if you look at a lot of like old Y Lines photos, I'm just like wearing like big like flower robes and just like short shorts and that kind of stuff. And I would that's when I would start like painting my nails and that kind of stuff and like very slowly getting into makeup. So when I feel like those things, I was like, wow, this is like euphoric when I get to
Mhm.
do that. And I feel like I was almost like using the performances as an excuse to do all these things because I was like, this is my one time where I can like do it and my parents wouldn't be completely weirded out. Because like we've had that talk before regarding that kind of stuff, but it was like on the stage, I just kept doing these things, kept painting my nails, kept wearing more feminine clothes, I guess, for someone who is assigned male at birth.
Right.
Um, so then I feel like once it got into quarantine, I was like what was it about that that I am missing?
Mhm.
Like what was it that I needed from that?
Yep.
Um, but I mean, like I've had like my friends' parents who have come to our shows be like, "Oh, your outfit was hilarious that night. That was great." And I'm like, "That wasn't the goal, but okay." I mean, like, I feel great.
Hey, that's all that matters in the end.
Yeah.
So I do really want to thank you so much for sitting down, especially from one member of the community to the other. I do want to wish you a very happy Pride Month,
Of course.
and yes, yes. As we're finishing up, if there's anything you want to promote or plug, be my guest.
I mean, hey, you can follow Why Lines and Are Hidden on pretty much any social media. Um, listen to queer people everywhere. Listen
Yes.
to what they must say about our liberation,
Mm.
and listen to queer artists. Stream Left at London.
Yes, I will say I'll do the promotion for this. We've had a segment. The show Campus Buzz runs from 8 to 10,
Mhm.
and I've been trying to do that. Call it Pride Past 9, where I make sure to highlight an artist from the community and stuff, and that's been a great experience. But
Wonderful.
yeah, yeah. So once again, it's been incredible sitting down with you. Please check out all the links you've mentioned and stuff. But tune into the Campus Buzz on 89.5 FM Sundays from 8 to 10. So with all that being said, on behalf of the Campus Buzz, this has been I have been Ryan Clayton signing off and wishing you a very safe and happy Pride Month.